Hey guys, I told you we'd be back. Another brain dump. And I tell Hudson all the time that everything is everything. And I wanted to read to you, Touré. I know you haven't read it. I skimmed it and it immediately hit me. And I want to see if it hits you the same way based on the work we've been doing. One of our colleagues wrote this in a post. It says, I'm in the hospital with my grandmother. She wasn't listening to instructions. She wanted to go to the bathroom by herself and put on her own diaper because it's the last piece of independence she had left. She was holding on to it with everything she had. Nurse one, the most experienced nurse on the floor, she actually told me she was nearing retirement, knew every system, every procedure. Her conclusion, she needs to pee on herself and we'll clean it up after. She's not compliant. Can you sign the liability form? We had a 45-minute struggle about this form, and the expert's best answer was paperwork that protected her, not my grandmother and her dignity. An answer that stripped her dignity away. Then nurse number two walked in and asked me one question. How does she normally do it? Like underwear, I said. So he made it work like underwear versus a deconstructed adult diaper. So she put it on herself. That's it. That was the whole solution. 10 minutes, no struggle. My grandmother did it herself, kept her dignity doing it. He prompted compassion, autonomy, and independence. The difference between the two nurses was not knowledge. Nurse one definitely had more of it. The difference was compassion, empathy, and creativity. One nurse tried to make my grandmother fit the procedure. The other made the procedure fit my grandmother. Now, what does that bring to mind for you?
Whew, man, I could tell you this. The first thing that came to mind, though, was that you have two people working for the same organization approaching it two different ways. And I think, and then it also tells me that the family who decided to work with this organization probably got a different version of what that experience is from whoever walked them around the facility and the whole 9 yards for expectation. So it's amazing to me that how you can go to the same place and get 2-3 different outcomes and expect a business to actually be something that's efficient enough for people to trust organizations, especially with, your loved one. You hear a lot of horror stories around that for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes from really the whole essence of what we do and how we approach things, and not making them fit into the box that these tools and these resources kind of provide, the framework that they provide to facilitate business and operations, but figuring out how to complement what they're already doing. Or in some places, custom fitting a tool stack or resources for them so that they can continue to operate in their genius, so that they don't have to necessarily change the way that they do things or learn a new process or procedure. They can just continue doing what they're doing. And because they now have an infrastructure or a process or procedure in place that magnifies what they're doing or streamlines what they're doing, they're infinitely more effective as a byproduct. And that's to me, when I read that, and there's more to it, but when I read that, I just stopped right there and I said, that's exactly what we do at Ecrof, and how we kind of steward the business and are successful with the relationships that we do have with our clients.
Yeah, that's good. As you were speaking, I was just kind of looking at why you may get a different outcome. Sometimes we don't give people in those roles the autonomy to offer services without being penalized. So some people just gonna do just enough so they don't so they don't hurt themselves in the process. They only looking out for themselves. And I think that organizations, what we try to help organizations do is to give people the parameters to know what done looks like. What do good look like, right?
Absolutely.
And then if there's some type of escalation that should occur, then give them enough bandwidth to get to that point so they know that they can feel like they're part of the solution, not just a cog in the wheel.
Sure. I think you said something earlier that's important as well when we consider this. You said two people, same business, different approaches. And it speaks to what you just said as well in regards to the guardrails to make those decisions. So maybe she made the decision because she was protecting her job, because that's what protocol said. That's what the SOP said. But it's not really what the North Star is. It doesn't really encompass the vision. And the vision, obviously, if you're working in that capacity, is to care for the people, to make the people comfortable, and to obviously protect them for themselves, both mentally and physically. And the other gentleman, again, same SOP, same book, same business, looked at it and said, "Hey, I'm going to, within the parameters and guidelines that were given to me, I'm going to make a judgment call and deviate from what the SOP says, but still operate within the framework that was provided and provide this solution and allow this woman to maintain her dignity and her independence," which is essentially what we do when we wrap this layer of intelligence around the business. We capture those things so that it's not sitting somewhere in the manual, so that it's a living, breathing thing, so that when those situations do arise, if it's the person that's been there that's near retirement or the person that just started, they have access to the same information to make the call or decision necessary to propel the business forward, to provide a meaningful experience, because that's what happened here. She remembered how that second person made, well, really how both people made them feel, but the impact was with the second person.
When the President Obama had put this EMR in play, where we moved to more digital records. So if somebody's traveling or somebody is doing something, you don't have to wait for paperwork to determine if you can service this person. And I think
Right.
the vision of this is to be able to have access to information pretty quickly, so you don't lose the human side, but also still serve people. And I don't know if it's probably been close to maybe like 9 years now, but I don't know if people have actually really truly fully engaged with that access that information is. Like, I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking at a person, and we forget in between, regardless if you're in the health field or whether you are in the business of just servicing people in general. I think sometimes we get so caught up in regulations and how things are supposed to be that we forget that we're dealing with humans, and humans should always be the North Star, right? Making sure that they are being heard, being serviced. And I think that bridging the gap, whether you're a service provider or whether you're in the health field, understanding that to feel really equipped in your job. And most of the time, if you're not fully equipped, it's because it could be cultural. It could just be the idea that information is staying in silos from one person to the next. Because clearly this person made a judgment call. That second rep did a judgment call. And I think it was to the humanity versus the person who wasn't. And I don't think they were caring more about the consequence other than the idea that this person has some self-respect that they still had to hold on to, and she wanted to preserve that. So I think that's a phenomenal way to, and a realistic scenario that happens on a regular basis when it comes to small details of how one person do one thing is how they do everything. That's something I've always been taught, man. So I'm just like, the money or the title or the respect shouldn't change how you're going to impact people's lives if you're in the space of serving people.
Yeah, I actually started with everything is everything. So it's funny that you brought it back to close us out. The other thing that you said, and then obviously we'll get out of here. And if you want to hear more of this, obviously tune in for our next live, or look out for our next live. But you can also join us every Wednesday at 1 Eastern time for our webinar, where we kind of talk through what we do here at Ecrof Media Co. and how it can impact your business. But you said something, one of the other tent poles of our business that obviously, and I'll let you close out with that, in regards to the humanity of it. And I think one of the things that has always been the focal point of what we do is infusing the tech, and in this case, the AI and all the tech around the AI, so that you can maintain or increase the humanity in the business. Because most people are afraid that if we adopt AI, that what are the humans going to do? Well, you're going to be a human and let the tech be the tech.
Yeah,
So,
I think, you spot on. And I think there's so many people with good intentions who are trying to support, small businesses. Like, I've read something that there's 8 billion people in the world and only 3.2 million people are actually using AI on a regular basis. Like, there's people who are not using it at all. And so there's this idea that everyone is aware of technology. I don't even know if people
I don't
even
even
know
know
that
if
they
people
even
even know that
exist
it
to the
even
point that they could
exists
be
to the
better
point that it could be
served
better
to help them
served,
enhance the
help
things
them
that they've been
enhance the things
troubled
that they've
with.
been troubled with. Hmm.
That workshop
Doing that workshop
is to really
is
expand
to
the
really expand the
possibilities,
possibilities,
but also
but
understand
also
the underlining
understand the
as business
underlying
owners
as business
ourselves is
owners
to
ourselves,
own that platform,
that
to
platform,
own the infrastructure. There's no better
infrastructure. There's no
time
better time
in any world, at
in
any time in the
any
world that
time in
we
the
can
world that
basically
we
close the
basically
gap
close the
between what
gap
large businesses has
large
been doing for
businesses have been
years and
years
where small business
where
are right
small business
now.
are right now.
And
Right.
then, we
And
want to just give you
we
the
want to just give you
encouragement
the
to say that you
encouragement
not
to say
only
that
you
you not
can,
only
but
can, but
give you the
give
permission
you
to
the
say that,
permission to say that
no longer there's
no
a
longer
barrier
there's
of
a
your
barrier
genius
of
being
your
locked
genius being
behind. It's
locked
not just
behind.
about
It's not just
finances
about
anymore.
finance.
Technology has closed that
Technology
gap
has closed that
dramatically.
gap
And so
dramatically.
those who
So
are still looking for
those who are still
fundings,
looking for
those who are still
funding,
looking
those who are still
for,
looking
hey, I need
for,
a new
hey, I
person to
need a new
bring
person
in,
to bring
you
in.
might want to
You
tap
might
into
want
the
to tap
workshop so
into the
you can kind of
workshop
really
so you can
see,
kind
do
of
you really need
see,
a
do
new
you
person
really need
yet?
a person
Or are
yet?
you just,
Or are
are you
you
just
just, are
passing
you just
information
passing
off because
information
you
on
haven't figured
because
it
you
out
haven't
yet and
figured
you
it
hoping
out yet?
somebody else do it for
Somebody
you?
else do it for you.
Are you trying to
Are
have
you
AI
trying to have
replace you for
AI
questions
replace
and
you for
answers or
questions and
answers you
answers
have
or
not
answers
actually
you have not
found in your
actually
own
found in
business?
your business?
AI is only to
AI is
amplify.
only to
It is
amplify.
not something that's going
It's
to
not something
replace
that's
what,
going to replace, but
I'm a spiritual guy
I'm a spiritual
where
guy
God has placed
where
you.
God
So I
has placed
realize
you.
that
So I
everyone has a
realize that
gift,
everyone has a gift,
and definitely
and
come into the
definitely
workshop,
come into a
Ecrof
workshop,
Media at
Ecrof
that
Media
slash
at that
workshop.
slash
That's
workshop. That's
ECROF media.com
ecrofmedia.com
workshop. Go check us
workshop.
out.
Go check us out.
Wednesday at 1
Wednesday
p.m.
at 1
I'm
p.m.
sure you're going to
I'm
be
sure you're going to
very
be
excited to find
very
out some
excited to
really
find
cool
out some
things of
really
how
cool
you guys
things
can
of
run
how
your
you
business.
guys run your
And we will
business.
tap in.
And
What
we will
is
tap
that,
in.
Monday
What
we
is
tapping
that
in
Monday? We tapping
tomorrow?
in?
What you want to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably pop in at some point over the weekend, but Monday for sure, for sure. But
That's
if there is something that you want to hear about, just put it in the comments, DM Wayne Runs, Touré D Young. Let us know. We're here to serve. And I know a lot of people say that, but I wouldn't be in tech otherwise. So I'm really here to help bridge the gap. So it's not a foreign language. You don't have to be intimidated, but comment, DM, and we'll get back to you either directly or in the next live. Thanks for tapping in.
Absolutely.